according to the United Nations Development Program, 85% of people worldwide report having feelings of insecurity. That's a whopping 6 out of 7 individuals worldwide plagued by insecurity. And so chances are, like myself, many of you out there have these feelings or have had these feelings of insecurity. And I know from my experience, one of the most frustrating parts about feeling insecure is finding the origin, finding the root, finding the cause, right? We're constantly in these feelings of insecurity where we're struggling, and the biggest hardship is finding out why. And so in this video, to help you guys, I have a series of 4 diagnostic questions that will help you identify your insecurity and reasons behind them, and hopefully offer a solution for how you can move forward and help address those feelings. But before we get into it, if you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Cooper. I'm a recent college graduate documenting my journey as well as giving advice to you all here on this YouTube channel. So if that is something you are interested in, feel free to stick around. All right, let's hop into it. So my first diagnostic question, all these relate to different forms of shame, by the way. And so my first diagnostic question relates to the shame of your past, the shame behind what you've done, actions you've taken in the past. And that question would simply be, what is your biggest regret in life? What is your biggest regret in life? And so if an answer springs to mind, chances are you're insecure about something you've done in the past. And part of this is because regret is a pretty clear window into your moral values and the failures that you haven't quite healed from yet. And so some of the examples to this may include regret from betrayal. This may include regret from missed opportunities, people you've hurt, living below your potential. And so an even more concrete example could be, for example, say you're in school and you regret not trying hard in school. And nowadays, years later, once you've graduated, now you're out of school, that regret is now surfacing in your everyday lives now, because now you feel insecure about your own intelligence, that you may not be as smart as the person beside you. That is how past regrets may surface later in life in the form of insecurity. And so a big part of this one is the concept of belief. How and identifying why belief is attached to a past regret. And this could come in the form of various phrases such as, if this comes to mind, I'm not trustworthy, I always fail, I'm not smart. Oftentimes with regret comes these feelings, these attachments of beliefs. And so the biggest solution to these is figuring out what belief are you telling yourself in the back of your head that's associated with a regret that you have. And that will be your basis for moving forward and healing from that insecurity. The second question is based around shame about where you've been. So it's not actions, rather it's situations. And this question is, what part of your life are you most embarrassed by? This could be things like your family background, your financial struggles, your past relationships, environments that you grew up in. I know this one hits hard for me at home, because although I had a stable upbringing, I would say definitely because I was a shy, introverted kid, there are a lot of times in school, in junior high and high school, where there would be situations where I would be embarrassed, I would be made fun of, I would have a crush that would go super popular, and I would feel super insecure. And I could feel that nowadays. Feeling like I didn't have the best time in my past, and thus now these feelings of overcompensation, people pleasing, trying to appear more put together than you really are, have metastasized and come to the surface. And so an example for you might be I'm embarrassed that I grew up poor, not financially well off. And now I overwork to prove myself. And so how to answer this one, whereas the first one was all about belief, this one is about where does your embarrassment lie? Because your embarrassment will tell you what you still haven't accepted about your past. It's all about acceptance. And so now that we've been about and addressed the shame related to things that we've done, where we've been, now let's move on to our third question, which is regarding shame about your distinctions. What makes you, you? And this is another big one for a lot of people, including myself. And that question would simply be, what would I change about myself if I could? I think this is the most common one, again, like I said, because as soon as I ask that question, what would I change about myself if I could? What would you change about yourself if you could? Boom. There goes your answer. Oh, I don't like my face. I don't like my body. I don't like my personality. I don't like how I talk, how I sound. I feel like everybody has an answer to this one because it's the most common form of insecurity. Who you are. What makes you, you. And this reveals it can come in the form of appearance-based or ability-based, right? It could be physical traits, as I outlined, personality traits or limitations that you may have, both physically and skill-wise, about what you think you can't achieve, right? And this is often the insecurity that drives things like social anxiety, avoidance, self-sabotage. For example, I changed my weight, so I avoid social settings because I think people judge me, right? I don't like how my face looks, so I don't like taking pictures. I don't like taking selfies, right? I want to cover myself, right? I have social anxiety, so anytime I go into a place, I really want to fit in, but it always seems so hard to. Like all eyes are on me, and I can never do the right thing. You ever walk into a place or cross someone in the street, they say something to you, compliment you, and you have like 5 seconds before you keep walking away to say something like, oh, thank you, and you just blank, and you're just like, right? That's another example, right? Look, we are constantly walking around with this, like we're in a movie script. Everything we say or do has to be perfect. And if it's not, it's because there's something wrong with us and something that we need to change about ourselves. And so again, whereas the first one was all about belief and the second was all about embarrassment, this one's all about the trait that you attach to yourself. What's the trait that you want to change? What's the one thing about yourself that you believe that makes you less worthy? And so moving on to our last one, we talked about the shame behind what we've done. We've talked about the shame about where you've been, who you are. And lastly, this is the shame regarding your motivations, why you do things. And this question is, what area of your life do you justify most? What area of your life do you justify most? This could perhaps be the deepest insecurity of all, or the one you defend, because it's very current, right? Whatever you constantly explain, excuse, defend, rationalize, that's where you feel the most inadequate, right? And examples could be, again, overworking, not pursuing your dreams, staying in an unhealthy relationship, substance abuse. And you justify those with sayings like, I'm just being productive. The timing isn't quite right. It's complicated. This makes me feel good. Don't I deserve this? And so the key insight from this one is that you constantly justify what you secretly and know at your core is a problem. And why does this matter? Because again, rationalization hides the insecurity under your logic. And so this shame shapes your identity quietly but powerfully. And again, this is the one we do most presently. And so moving away from those 4 questions, hopefully with those 4 questions, you've been able to kind of identify your own insecurities if you have them. And so the bigger point now I want to just wrap up with is holistically, insecurity is a result of unresolved shame, right? Past actions, past environments, core identity, hidden motivations. Every insecurity traces back to an unprocessed shame in one of those 4 areas. And insecurity doesn't mean that you're weak. Again, 85% of people have these feelings. Are 85% of people necessarily weak? No. But 100% of us are human. And it just means that you're part of your story, of a story that you haven't accepted yet, and that's okay. We're all trying to understand. We're all going through life together. And part of going through life is understanding ourselves, our environment, our peers. And so understanding and comprehending these 4 questions, evaluating using these 4 questions, allows for greater self-awareness, healing, better relationships, more confidence, and actual change. And so again, how do we move forward? Be radically honest with your answers. Stop hiding the versions of yourself that you're ashamed of. Share it with a trusted person, such as a friend, pastor, or mentor. Align your actions with the person you know you want to become. It's going to require change. Change is uncomfortable, but it's also everything. Everything in life changes. And oftentimes it needs to. Even us, we have to constantly adapt as we evaluate ourselves. And hopefully, as we adapt and as we change, we're veering and steering in the right direction. And last but not least, forgive yourself for your past. It's not a justification, but forgiveness is necessary. It's the only way to stop yourself from repeating it. And so again, your insecurity isn't random, it's just part of your story. And if you want to understand your insecurity, answer those 4 questions and don't look away. So again, honesty is painful, but it's your path to peace. And with that, that's all I have for this video. If you found anything of value, feel free to stick around on my channel where I post new videos every Tuesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that, I will see you guys on the next one. Godspeed.